Greetings, Great 28 facilitators. We are excited about this next term in our Great 28 small groups. We're going a little bit different direction than we have been going so far, where we've studied various aspects of the scriptures in terms of the 10 commandments and the parables and different things like that, and the 8 questions God couldn't answer. We've looked at a lot of stuff, but now we're going to make a critical turn to begin thinking about discipleship and what it means to be a disciple of Jesus, what that looks like, how we can evaluate it in our lives, what makes up discipleship in your life and mine. And so this series is kind of going to be a little bit of an introduction into how we are going to define and look at discipleship here at Our Savior Lutheran Church in McKinney, Texas. There are 4 areas that we are going to look at as it relates to discipleship. And once we get through these 4 areas this term, then we will zero in and go even a little deeper and a little further in becoming more action-oriented disciples in these 4 areas. But this term is going to kind of introduce us to those areas and help us become aware and conscientious of those areas in our life. So, as you'll see in the introduction to this lesson, many people could debate about the definition of a disciple, what a disciple is, what discipleship is, and all these sorts of things. And so we're just going to come out front and say how we view it and what we define a disciple to be. And so for us, a disciple is someone, and discipleship is the process by which someone is participating in these 4 areas. The first one is get, the second one is grow, the third one is glow, and fourth one is go. So let me just say a little word about each of these. Get is where we go to get Christ's forgiveness in the word and sacrament. Okay? So a big part of discipleship is our participating in and receiving the gifts of God and the forgiveness and the means of grace that He's given. So that's the get element. So we'll have a lesson or 2 on that moving forward, though this first lesson is really an introduction to the whole series. As we look at grow, it's grow in grace and knowing Him. The cliff notes of that is the time you spend in the Word and the importance of being in the Word as a disciple, and that being a significant part of discipleship. Then we move into the glow area, which is glow with His love in your callings, your vocations that you have that God has given to you, and your local church. So you can show God's love toward others at church and through church programs or missions. You can also do it in the very vocations that God has placed you in, which is exactly how God has designed it. So He has missionaries like you in all sorts of vocations around the world. And even retirement is an important, critical vocation where you maybe have more contact with people in retirement than you did possibly in your job when you worked and you had that vocation. And so glow is letting that love that Christ has poured into you be poured out onto others. And then there's the go element, which is to tell the good news about Him in your vocations and through your local church. Okay, so when we think about these 4 categories that we need to be participators in on a regular basis, you can break the first 2 into this kind of grouping, and the second 2 into this grouping. The first 2 deal with our receiving from God, and the second part, or the last 2, glow and go, deal with our giving. Okay, so there's receiving and giving, okay, and they go hand in hand. Another way you could break these down is the first 2 under the category of faith, the second 2 under the category of love, just some kind of 30,000-foot ways that you can see these, okay? And then you're going to have this opening discussion after you kind of introduce your group into this, and you're going to talk about a little thing about hide and seek and the best hiding place you ever had. And what we're moving toward here is looking at how people often hide in churches. And I don't mean literally like they're hiding behind the organ or something. I mean how they hide in the pews and don't ever really become full participators in the get, the grow, the glow, and the go. Okay, and we're hopefully going to be better as members of Great 28 groups in determining and discerning where these people are, calling them out of their hiding spot. And that might be just inviting them into worship more regularly. It might be in the grow category, inviting them into your own small group so that they can grow in the number of relationships that they have, in their understanding of what God says and what it means to be an active, participating disciple of Jesus. Okay, so that's that first intro. Then we're going to have a few passages where you're basically just going to read a passage as it relates to each of these four categories. And there's going to be some questions that I think are pretty straightforward in that area. And then it's going to end with a quick personal assessment that you will do of yourself. Okay, so no spouses evaluating or assessing spouses or anything of that nature. You're going to be asked on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being fantastic and 1 being please help me, how you would rank yourself in the area of get, in the area of grow, in the area of glow, and in the area of go. Okay? And what we hope is that whatever you rank yourself at, I want you to kind of look at it this way. If you rank yourself, say, a 6 in the get category, I want you to pray about and think about, what would a 7 look like? What would be different if you gave yourself a 7 than the 6 that you gave yourself in that category? And I want you to kind of go through that process prayerfully on your own with all 4 categories. And then hopefully what we'll do is at the end of this term, I hope that we would see that we've all increased, at least 1 in each of these 4 areas as the Spirit has worked upon us, as the Word has worked upon us, and as we have prayerfully thought about these 4 areas and are being participators in them in our life of discipleship. Okay? And so this is just the beginning. We're pretty excited that this is going to take us really to another level. And what I mean by that is, as Pastor Thompson and I talked about this is maybe not the class that we would throw somebody into for the first time, although I would say it's also not going to scare somebody away if you're fortunate enough to invite somebody into your Great 28 group. It could, who knows, it could be a great place to start for them, okay? But it's going to get a little more intense as we move beyond this term a little bit in terms of expectations and accountability and how we really aim to be growing and being conformed to the person of Christ as we're called to do. Okay? So, I hope you have a great kickoff with this introductory lesson for the next Great 28 series on Discipleship 101.